Welcome back to the channel where we go beyond the headlines. Today we're diving deep into the political landscape in Jamaica as the island gears up for one of its most consequential general elections, which is constitutionally due this year. Some people say September. If not September, it can only be 3 months subsequent to September. So it has to be done by, say, mid-December. This isn't just about who wins power. It's about the future direction of the nation of Jamaica. Will Andrew Holness and the Jamaica Labour Party secure third straight term, or will Mark Golden and the People's National Party finally make their comeback? Will young people finally make their voices heard at the ballot box? Will Jamaica finally see a turn in its battle with crime and inequality? We know this is tribal. We know you have your sides. There's a clear demarcation between JLP and PNP. There's no rationality involved. There's no reasoning involved. People have their sides and they're going to stay on their sides. We'll make a reason. Let's explore what's happening, what's at stake, and why this election could reshape Jamaica's future for decades to come. Let's rewind to February 2024. Jamaica held its governmental local elections, the first in 7 years, and the opposition People's National Party edged out the ruling JLP in both seats and the popular vote. Very close margin. I think it was about 115 to 113, 51 to 40%, something in that range. That was a clear warning shot. While local elections, they are not really national predictors. They reflect grassroots energy. And for the PNP, this was their best result in years. Compare that to the 2020 general election, where the JLP crushed, annihilated the PNP. What was it, 49 seats to about 14? But that was then. The political wins in 2025 are far less certain. Far, far less certain. Let's talk about the main players. First, there's Prime Minister Andrew Holness. He's pitching stability and leadership, especially as it relates to the economy, education, and infrastructure. One of the JLP's standout achievements has been reducing Jamaica's national debt to GDP ratio significantly from over 140% a decade ago to what now, about 80% today. That's no small feat, people. That takes strategy, that takes thought, that takes some sacrifice. The JLP has also modernized roads, attracted investments, and are now rolling out a fleet of new school buses to improve student access and safety. Crime, though, is still high, has recently shown a downward trend. Inflation, while painful, has been better managed than in many neighboring economies. And one thing is very obvious, as with most countries and most politicians, when it comes to election time, they're doing so much at the point of the election versus stratifying those things over a period of time. So the things like the buses that they've rolled out, and the Prime Minister said it's been in the works for 9 years. Why no versus 2-3 years ago? But let's keep going. Challenges remain. Police killings are up compared to last year quite a bit. I think they're pretty close to last year's number, and we're only at mid-year. This raises concern about the cost of security measures. There's also frustration over inequality, education gaps, and healthcare delays. And one thing people have not focused on, which is an imperative, which is material, which is significant, and I think the government has to think about how they can manage this, is about the brain drain. When you lose intellectual capital, it puts you at a significant disadvantage. And we continue to see individuals who are qualified in a number of fields, especially in nursing and education, being poached away by the USA specifically, and in some instances, Canada. Holness, however, is still popular. But there is fatigue setting in, particularly over crime, corruption scandals, and rising cost of living. Let's look at the other side of the equation, because the incumbent is the one who has to sort of prove themselves, what they have done. They have a resume. It's hard for the opposition, who's been under power for what? 2 election cycles. They can only come and talk to you about what they're going to be doing because they have no resume to stand by. Golding is presenting himself as a clean, stable alternative to Holness, and he's focusing on justice reform, anti-corruption, and social equity. If you look at some of the more recent polls, and obviously polls fluctuate, and as we've seen some number of elections around the globe, in today's environment, given different media, it's hard to gauge whether polls are reflective of people's true feelings. But if you look at the polls, it's pretty close, almost dead even. I think at one point it was 32 to 29, but there is a catch. Over 18% of voters are still undecided. And as we know in a number of elections around the globe, not just in Jamaica, undecided and independents are obviously the deciders. Because as I said before, people have their corners, they're entrenched in where they are, and you can't change their mind. But there are some who don't sit on either side. But most people have them corner. In an election where every seat matters, the undecided group could tip the balance. And probably, if they come out to vote, if they don't show apathy, will tip the balance. Now let's talk about the apathy thing. There's a deeper issue around voter turnout. In the 2020 general election, only about 30-something%, I think it was 37% of registered voters cast ballots. The lowest turnout since independence in the early 60s. That's shockingly low for democracy. In fact, that's very concerning. Some blame the COVID epidemic or pandemic for the low voter turnout. Others point to more about disillusion, unmet promises, and that sense that voting no longer changes much. Same old, same old. 2 parties are the same. Politicians are in it for themselves, not for the people. In fact, former Prime Minister P.J. Patterson has warned that voter apathy is undermining Jamaica's democracy, and I would agree with that. And I would say this to people. If you have the right to vote, you should exercise your right, because then you have some influence, whether or not you think you're voting for the lesser of two evils. Not saying that either party is evil, but you should exercise your voting right. As early as 2025, while 45% of voters say they intend to vote, turnout remains a serious question mark and a serious concern. If less than 40% of Jamaicans vote again, it raises a really real question. Can any government formed under these numbers truly claim to speak for the country and the nation? You think about it. If you have less than half of the population voting, that means you have no idea where the other half would have voted. And it's about majority in terms of who gets elected. Now let's talk about crime and security and policing, because this is a major concern for those who live in Jamaica, those who have aspiration to move back to Jamaica, and those who love the country but have left the country. Jamaica's crime crisis remains one of the top election issues. But here's the twist. While murders and gang-related crimes have declined, the state's over-reliance on policing and force is under fire. There has been an unprecedented number of police killings in recent years. Critics say the government crime plan is too focused on state of emergencies, military-style policing, and zones of special operations. Meanwhile, the root cause of criminality, poverty, lack of opportunity, broken homes, and inadequate education are still not being fully addressed. And let me say this, to meaningfully fix any problem, you have to fix the root cause or root causes, and policing is a detective measure, not a preventive measure. if you address poverty, if you address your industries and create employment opportunities, if you address broken homes and you educate your people, you have a much better chance to fix your crime problem than trying to use police to do so. Think about it. There's little investment in rehabilitation, in early childhood interventions or community youth development programs. There's some, but way short of what it should be. Many young men are caught up in violence or themselves victims of systemic neglect, right? You see violence around you, you become part of how you operate. You don't have good examples. You don't have good outlets. It creates a continuum in terms of youth getting involved in crime. But if you have outlets for them, it may stem that crime. The question isn't about how we crack down on crime, It's how we build a society where fewer people turn to crime in the first place. Now let's think about beyond the ballot box and the media, youth, and the trust of the system and trust of politicians. Social media will play a pivotal role in the 2025 campaign, but it's a double-edged sword. Misinformation, tribalism, which is almost inherent to Jamaica politics, and unverified political attacks are always flooding WhatsApp groups and Facebook feeds. Meanwhile, Jamaica's youth remain deeply disillusioned. They are concerned about jobs, housing, student loan, digital inclusion, but feel their voice are not represented. I know of personal instances of people who have done really well in their exams and after high school don't have the resources to go to university and can't find a good job. They go work at the call centers, paying minimum or less than minimum wage. It's horrible for those individuals. Very smart individuals, lack of opportunities. And if you think about the diaspora, while they're unable to vote, they continue to shape narratives through funding, commentary, and influence across platforms. This election will also test trust in the system itself. Can Jamaica finally confront political corruption, garrison influence, and vote buying? Or will it be business as usual, just dressed in new rhetoric? There are about, 63 seats in the Jamaica House of Representatives. The JP hold about 49, PMP 14. For the PMP to win outright, they need to flip at least 18 seats and maintain what they have. Right? They have to hold on to what they have and flip 18. It's not impossible, but it's a significant task to achieve. You have some swing constituencies, like say Eastern St. Andrew, Clarendon, North Central, Westmoreland, which are possible to be flipped, but it's going to be difficult. And remember, the outcome won't just be shaped by parties, It will be shaped by whether Jamaicans feel change is even possible. Now, these are my final thoughts. This election isn't about leadership. It's about direction, where we're going as a country, as a people. Will the country double down on the Holness era model or demand something new? Will young people and working class Jamaicans find hope in the process? Do they see hope now? Or will just say, you know what? Apathy sets in and they're going to stay home because they don't believe in either party and what they're telling them, what they're promising. Beyond the headlines, this vote is about justice, national identity, crime reform, economic fairness, and whether Jamaicans truly believe their democracy still works for them. As Jamaica heads towards the 2025 general election, the stakes could not be higher. This could redefine leadership, restore or further erode faith in democratic participation. What direction do you think the country will take? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more bold coverage. As you know, your host called it like it is. Thanks for watching.